Matt, we actually spoke last time you were on the show and you hung up on me.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
Excellent lead.
You asked me a question.
Yeah.
You asked me a question and then you hung up mid-sentence. Like, I didn't even know why you asked it. If you were going to step into it.
Okay.
Right. But today I want to...
I would apologize, but I don't remember. We'll just go with welcome back. What do you want to talk about?
Yeah. I want to talk about how you talk about people that believe in faith. You said faith is a lack of evidence or lack of good evidence.
So actually, I said faith is the excuse people give for believing something when they don't have a good reason. Because if you believe something and you have a good reason and somebody asks you why, you give the good reason. You don't say, I take it on faith.
Okay, so you stated many times, I have actually 4 episodes, maybe there's more. You said that there are no gods. You diverted from the default position. So unless you have evidence for that, then you, Matt, believe on faith.
Yeah, so I don't know which episodes you've got from, and I can't address the surrounding context, but atheism is the position where you are not convinced there's a God. You may, in fact, be convinced there are no gods. My position...
Yes, that's what I'm speaking.
That's what you're referencing? That's not me saying what I believe. That's me describing what atheism is.
No, I'm referencing the second part. You said that you go one step further. You say there are no gods.
No. I would be interested in this because I think, and I'm usually pretty cautious in how I actually phrase this. It's possible in the 14 plus years I've hosted the show that there have been mistakes. Actually, I guarantee you there have been loads of mistakes. But what I'm telling you now is not necessarily that I am convinced there are no gods. It's that I am not convinced there are any gods. And for some definitions of God, I am convinced those gods don't exist. I am not certain and would never claim that I am certain there are no gods, but I can reasonably be convinced that there are no gods, which is why I'm writing a book called If I Were God, that not only addresses atheism as I am not convinced there is a God, but also atheism as I am convinced there are no gods, and that I am not asserting this with certainty. I'm just reaching a reasonable conclusion based on sound arguments.
Yeah, but I would argue that that's not reasonable because you live in Austin, Texas, which is a small part of America, which belongs to Earth, galaxy, and universe. We haven't even tapped into everything that's there.
So you're gonna argue that because there's countless things I don't know that I can't know this either, right?
No, you can't know that there are no gods. You have to.
Isn't that what I just said? You are trying to argue that because I don't have absolute knowledge, because there's so many things out there I don't know, that I cannot then say I know there are no gods reasonably. That's your point, right?
It doesn't sound reasonable, yes.
Is that your point?
Yeah.
Because I'm not saying I know there are no gods. I'm saying I may believe there are no gods, which means I may be convinced that this is the more reasonable thing. That doesn't require absolute knowledge of anything. That is an assessment based on the world as I understand it and the lack of evidence for a proposition and evidence against a proposition. It's not a position of absolute certainty, and it's not a position of knowledge. I didn't assert any knowledge. I talked about what I believed and was reasonable about it. It is unreasonable for you to say that my belief is unreasonable because I don't have absolute certainty or because I don't have complete knowledge of the universe. That is what's unreasonable.
Okay, this is where I have a problem with that because knowledge is not really important to me because people don't wait till they have knowledge.
I agree. Now you're quoting me.
According to their belief.
Quoting me more accurately than you did before.
Yes, and people wait. Yeah, and there was this guy that called in. He said he believes in the unfalsifiable God, and you gave him a great answer. You said, "Why would you believe that?" And he said, and you told him because it's harmful. And you said, "Who do I harm by believing that?" You said, "For one, to harm yourself." I said, "How do I harm
There's a problem here, Jacob. Jacob.
Yeah.
The proposition there are no gods isn't unfalsifiable. It's falsifiable. You can falsify it by demonstrating that there is a God. You need to learn the difference. You need to learn the difference between a falsifiable proposition and an unfalsifiable proposition, because you don't get to say that my falsifiable proposition is flawed because you view it the same way you view an unfalsifiable proposition. That's a fallacy.
No, I wasn't talking about that. I was talking about...
That's absolutely what you just did. Rewind it.
No, as I was let me finish.
Okay.
The guy, you told him the harm is you will not find out the real truth. And he said, how does that prevent me from finding out the real truth? You said, why would you search for the truth if you already believe in God? And I asked you the same thing.
Yes.
Why would you search? Why would you consider any evidence of God if you already believe or reasonably believe that there is no God?
Because I don't hold my positions. I hold all of my positions as tentative and subject to revision based on new evidence. So if somebody presents an evidence for a God, that would potentially falsify my position. I'm not going to hold an unfalsifiable proposition, is my point.
Yeah, but isn't it safer to say, you know what, I don't have evidence.
Yes, which is what I've said countless times. So what you're doing is you're cherry picking one thing and you're trying to portray it as if I said something else. I did not say I know there are no gods. I did not say that there are no gods is an unfalsifiable proposition that I believe. I believe it is a falsifiable proposition. And all propositions that are falsifiable, which I believe, are subject to revision just as soon as you or somebody else falsifies them. Can you do that?
Not right now, not during the phone call, but okay, I'll
do you know when you can do it? Because you could call back then.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to do it over the phone, but if you want to have like a structural debate one day, we could do that. But
I think I've had countless of them. How many of my opponents do you think were just miserable failures who didn't understand the arguments?
I didn't watch all these. I watched maybe a couple of your debates. I didn't watch all of them, so I don't know. But
well, unlike Jordan Peterson's fans, I'm not going to require you to watch and listen to everything I've ever said. But if there was a God, how do you think you would go about demonstrating that this is the case?
If there was a God, through his scripture, through his prophets.
So what counts as scripture? Because the fact that a book says something doesn't demonstrate that it's true, right?
And is that the best method to demonstrate your existence?
I mean, you've got your scripture, somebody else has got their scripture. Sure. What is it? How could you possibly demonstrate the truth of God through some writings?
Yeah. I mean, it depends on the writer, but I don't really want to go into. I think you answered my question very good. I really thought you believed that there are no gods, and we addressed that. Next time, I would call in prepared. I would call in prepared to speak on the scripture.
I will be here every week this month. I'm sure that if you prepare and call in, you can present an argument for the existence of God.
I will. Thank you very much. You did answer my question.
I will try to give you advance warning. If you're going to argue based on Scripture, be prepared to answer why one should accept Scripture as true.
Right. And how do you
and how you distinguish between your true Scripture and somebody else's false Scripture. Just as a heads up.
What is that actual method that exists?
Thanks, Jacob.
Because we've had that conversation. I've had a few
50,000 times.
Quite a few on this show. But if you do have those two scriptures, okay, we have these two monotheistic Bibles or scriptures, whatever the book it is, but how do you actually go about discerning which one is true, which one actually, if these are two completely separate deities that are being proposed in these two, how do you go about discerning which one is the correct one? And then what about the thousands of others that are just waiting to see that? So how do we go about, what is our method that we use to determine that truth value of these?
John Loftus has actually talked about, he has the outsider's test for faith, which I think is a great both name and kind of model, and that is, there are many things that people within a faith are going to find convincing because they already believe. When I was doing the Canada tour, I got a chance to meet Josh McDowell. Well, I didn't get to meet Josh. He was there, but his son, Sean McDowell, was there doing a discussion. And we only got to speak for a minute or so. But he did send me a copy of the newest version of the evidence that demands a verdict, because I had asked a question during the Q&A period. He had mentioned the secular web, infidels.org, because up there are a great many articles that rebut the things that Josh wrote about in Evidence That Demands a Verdict and New Evidence That Demands a Verdict, and the even newer than New Evidence That Demands a Verdict, and now we're up to the umpteenth thing. And so I asked, essentially, what if there were things that were written about at infidels.org that they had considered and come up with a response to? And he said, oh, that's in the new version of the book, and I'll send you a copy. And of course, he did send me a copy of the book. I hope to look through it. There was a second part to that question that I didn't get to ask, and maybe we'll get Sean to call in one day, because not only am I interested in finding out what there was at infidels.org that they thought was wrong or fallacious that they came up with a response to, but was there anything in any of the rebuttals at infidels.org that they found to be accurate, and did they modify the sections of Evidence That Demands a Verdict to offer a correction? Because I think if you want to talk about miracles, which have a lot of different definitions, I think the very notion that there could be this much criticism of this book and none of it was reasonable, that'd be a miracle that would almost prove the point, as if there's nothing, no criticism of this book has ever been reasonable. I don't even think Sean would go down that route. But I don't know him that well, so I can't really say.